They called him a crippled alpha, locked away in a forgotten manor on a snow-buried hill, stripped of his crown, his power, and his wolf. But when a desperate healer with nothing left to lose stepped into that cursed house and touched the man no one was allowed to look at, she didn't know she was awakening an ancient bond that would shake an entire pack, expose a betrayal older than the town itself, and turn a broken king into something far more dangerous. Because the night he finally stood, glowing eyes blazing before the wolves who abandoned him, he didn't ask for healing. He looked straight at the girl who saved him and called her his mate, sealing a fate that would either crown her queen or destroy her completely. The carriage wheels groaned against frozen mud as Selena pressed her forehead to the frost-clouded window. Ashwood Ridge emerged from the winter mist like something pulled from a photograph her grandmother might have kept. Wooden porches sagging under the weight of time, oil lamps flickering yellow against white-painted fences that had seen better decades. Snow clung to everything, softening the edges of a town that looked like it had forgotten the outside world existed. Or perhaps it had been forgotten instead. She'd heard the whispers before she'd even crossed the county line. A healer coming to Ashwood Ridge. How desperate she must be. How broken she must be to accept work no other wolf would touch. They weren't wrong. The carriage stopped outside a narrow boarding house, and Selena stepped into the cold wearing a coat too thin and boots that let in water. The town stared. Women clutched their shawls tighter. Men turned away as if her presence alone might curse them. "You're the healer?" The voice belonged to an older woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that could cut glass. She didn't offer her hand. "I am." "Then you know why you're here." Selena nodded, though she didn't. "Not really." The letter had been vague, the pay suspiciously generous, the warnings endless. "Come to Ashwood Ridge. Heal the alpha. Ask no questions. Expect no kindness." The woman's lips thinned. "The alpha lives in the manor. Up the hill. You'll see it." "When do I?" "Tomorrow. Dawn." "And girl," the woman's gaze turned sharp, almost pitying, "don't look him in the eyes. Don't touch him unless you must. And don't ever hope he'll thank you for what you're trying to do." That night, Selena learned what the town truly thought of Gomez. Monster, some called him. Broken king, said others. Once, he'd been the strongest alpha in the Northern Territories, a wolf whose power could silence entire packs with a single look. But something had happened. An accident. A curse. The stories tangled together until truth became myth, became warning. Now he sat in that manor, crippled and dangerous, his legs twisted beneath him, his power buried so deep that even the wolves had stopped howling for him. And Selena was supposed to fix it. She climbed the hill at dawn. The manor loomed against the gray sky, all dark wood and shuttered windows. It looked less like a home and more like a mausoleum. The door opened before she could knock. "He's in the library." The servant didn't look at her. Didn't speak again. Just pointed down a shadowed hallway and disappeared. Selena found him by the fire. Gomez sat in a wheelchair, his broad shoulders rigid, his hands gripping the armrests like he might crush the wood. His face was all hard angles, sharp jaw, cruel mouth, eyes so dark they swallowed light. Those eyes flicked to her, cold and assessing. "So they sent me a girl." His voice was winter itself. Selena lifted her chin. "They sent you a healer." "Same thing." He wheeled closer, and she forced herself not to step back. "Do you know what you're dealing with, girl? Or did they lie to you too? I know you're injured. I know you need help." "Help?" He laughed, bitter and sharp. "I don't need help. I need a miracle. And you don't look like one." She should have left. Should have walked back down that hill and never looked back. But Selena had spent her whole life running from things that hurt, and she was tired. "Let me see." "No. Let me." I said no. But she was already moving, already reaching, and when her fingers brushed his wrist, the world exploded. Power slammed into her, wild, furious, suffocating. It wasn't broken. It was caged. Locked so deep inside him that it had turned poisonous, feeding on his rage and pride until it had nowhere left to go but inward. Selena gasped, stumbling back, her magic flaring hot and bright in response. And for one impossible second, she felt it, the bond. Thin as spider silk, fragile as frost, but there. Connecting her to him in a way that made no sense, that shouldn't exist, that terrified her more than anything she'd ever known. Gomez stared at her, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. "Get out." Selena ran. That night she dreamed. She stood in a forest beneath a full moon, and beside her, Gomez rose from his wheelchair, tall, whole, unstoppable. His eyes burned gold. His power rolled off him in waves that shook the earth. And a voice, ancient and knowing, whispered through the trees. "You were never meant to heal him. You were meant to awaken him." The clinic smelled of antiseptic and old wood. Selena had been called to the East Wing 3 times that week, always after dark, always alone. The guards no longer escorted her. They knew better than to get between Gomez and whatever game he was playing. She set her kit down on the stone floor and looked at him. He sat in the chair by the window, moonlight carving shadows across his face. His legs were stretched out before him, motionless. Useless, they said. Broken beyond repair. But Selena had been watching. "Roll up your sleeve," she said quietly. Gomez didn't move. "You don't give orders here, Omega." "Then suffer." A beat of silence. Then, slowly, he complied. She knelt beside him, fingers tracing the old scars along his forearm. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, restless and confused. There was no fracture here. No nerve damage. No atrophy in the muscle. His body was whole. Too whole. "Your injury isn't real," she said. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Hard. Careful. She met his eyes. "Your spine is intact. Your legs are strong. This isn't a wound, Gomez. It's a cage." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he released her, leaning back with a bitter smile. "Smart little wolf. What happened to you?" He stared out the window, jaw tight. "The old Alpha Council. They feared what I was becoming. My power grew faster than theirs. Stronger. They couldn't control me, so they bound me instead." Selena's breath caught. "Bound you? How?" "An ancient curse. Blood magic, older than the packs themselves. They sealed my wolf down, locked it away where I couldn't reach it. Made me into this." He gestured to his legs with contempt. "A cripple. A joke." The pack moved on. Found new strength. New leaders. "And you stayed. Where else would I go?" His voice was hollow. "I'm the ghost they keep in the East Wing. A reminder of what happens when you reach too high." Selena stood, her heart pounding. She'd heard whispers of blood curses before, old magic, forbidden and dangerous. If that was what held him, then no healer in the pack could break it. But she could try. Over the following nights, she returned. She brought herbs the council had banned, texts stolen from the archives, salves that burned her hands to make. She cleaned wounds that shouldn't exist. Fed him when he refused to eat. And when he lashed out with cruel words meant to drive her away, she stayed. One night, as she wrapped a fresh bandage around his ribs, he laughed. It was quiet. Bitter. But real. "You're insane," he said. "Probably. You know they're watching you." She did. The Pack Luna had returned from the Northern Territories. Selena had seen her cold gaze across the courtyard. The council elders whispered in corners. And worst of all, Selena had begun to feel it, the cost of her work. Strange bruises appeared on her skin where there had been no impact. Cuts opened along her arms when she healed his. Her energy drained faster than it should, leaving her hollow and shaking after every session. Something was taking from her. "You're killing yourself," Gomez said one evening, watching her hands tremble as she mixed a tincture. "I'm fine." "You're not." She ignored him, focusing on the herbs. But when she stood, the room tilted. She caught herself on the edge of the table, breathing hard. Gomez was at her side in an instant, not standing, but moving faster than she'd ever seen him. His hand steadied her, and for a moment, she felt the raw strength coiled beneath his skin. Not broken. Never broken. Just bound. "Stop this," he said quietly. "Before it's too late." But Selena wouldn't. She left that night with her kit and a growing sense of dread. As she crossed the courtyard, she heard voices low and urgent from the council chamber. She stopped, pressing herself into the shadows. If he ever stands again, one elder hissed, the bond will activate. And the woman bound to him? A pause. Then, she will either ascend with him, or die in his place. Selena's blood turned to ice. The mate bond. She turned and ran. When healing turns into betrayal, they came for her at dawn. 3 council elders and the pack Luna herself, her expression carved from ice. Selena was dragged from her small quarters, still in her nightclothes, and brought before the assembled tribunal in the great hall. Selena Graves, the head elder announced, his voice echoing off stone walls. You stand accused of manipulation, of using forbidden methods to ensnare the mind of our former alpha. Former. The word was a blade. I've done nothing but heal him, Selena said, forcing her voice steady. You've done more than that. The Luna stepped forward, her eyes sharp. You've made him dependent. Weak. He asks for you constantly. Refuses others. This is not healing, this is control. That's not true. Enough. The elder raised his hand. The treatments will cease immediately. You are forbidden from entering the East Wing. Forbidden from contact with Gomez Thorne. Effective now. The room spun. He'll suffer without. He will learn to live without you, the Luna said coldly. As he should have long ago. Selena was escorted out before she could say another word. She tried to send messages. All were intercepted. She tried to reach him through the guards. They turned her away. For 3 days, she paced her quarters like a caged wolf, feeling the phantom ache in her bones grow worse. On the 4th day, they came again. This time, they didn't ask questions. You're leaving, the elder said simply. The pack has decided you are a distraction. A risk. You'll be relocated to the chapel on the northern edge. Alone. You'll receive rations weekly. That's exile, Selena whispered. That's mercy. She was given an hour to gather her belongings. No goodbyes. No explanations. And when she begged to see Gomez one last time, they refused. He never came for her. He never sent word. And Selena realized, with a hollow ache in her chest, that he thought she'd abandoned him. The chapel was a ruin. Cracked stained glass filtered pale light across broken pews. The roof leaked. The floor was cold stone, and the air smelled of mildew and forgotten prayers. It had been a place of worship once. Now it was a tomb for the unwanted. Selena made a bed from old cushions and wrapped herself in thin blankets. She rationed the food they'd left her. She tried to keep warm. But every night, the pain worsened. Bruises bloomed across her ribs. Cuts appeared on her palms. Her energy drained as though something deep inside her was being slowly torn away. She didn't understand it, couldn't explain it, but she knew it was connected to him. To Gomez. To whatever curse still held him captive. She was dying. Slowly. Quietly. And no one would come. Back in the East Wing, Gomez sat alone in the dark. She'd left him. Just like everyone else. He'd waited. Expected her footsteps in the hall. Her voice, sharp and unyielding. Her hands steady and sure. But she never came. The guards said she'd been reassigned. The Luna said she'd chosen to leave. He believed them. He shouldn't have. For days, he stewed in bitterness. Let the anger fester. But then the pain started. Not his pain, something else. Something foreign and sharp, slicing through his chest like glass. He gasped, clutching his ribs, feeling phantom bruises bloom beneath his skin. His wolf stirred. For the first time in years, it pushed against the curse. Clawed at the chains. Snarled in fury. Something was wrong. The bond, fragile, unacknowledged, barely there, pulsed in his veins. He felt her. Distant. Fading. Suffering. No, he growled, gripping the arms of his chair. His legs shifted. Just barely. A twitch. A tremor. The curse resisted, tightening like iron bands around his spine. But his wolf didn't stop. It fought. Raged. Demanded he move. And for the first time in 5 years, Gomez felt his toes. On the coldest night, Selena collapsed. She'd tried to make it to the well for water, but hadn't made it past the chapel door. The ground was frozen beneath her. Blood seeped from a wound on her side, one that had opened without cause, without injury. She lay there, gasping, staring up at the stars. This was how it ended then. Alone. Forgotten. Her vision blurred. And then, pain. Not hers. His. A roar split the night, distant but unmistakable. A howl of fury and anguish that shook the trees and sent birds scattering into the sky. Gomez. He'd felt it. Her pain. Her death. And somewhere in the dark, the Alpha's wolf finally broke free. The night the Alpha stood up, the council chamber blazed with firelight. Every pack elder sat in their high-backed chairs, faces solemn and satisfied. The Luna stood at the center, draped in ceremonial robes. And Gomez, former Alpha, Broken King, sat motionless in his chair at the far end of the room, expression carved from stone. Tonight, they would make it official. Strip him of his title. Erase what remained of his legacy. We gather to formalize what has long been truth, the head elder began. Gomez Thorne is no longer fit to lead. His condition has not improved. His presence weakens us. It is time to. The door slammed open. Every head turned. Selena stood in the doorway, breathless and bloodied. Her clothes were torn. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with defiance. You lied to him, she said. The Luna's expression darkened. Remove her. 2 guards stepped forward, but Selena didn't move. She kept her gaze locked on Gomez, willing him to look at her. To see the truth. They told you I abandoned you, she said, voice shaking. They told you I chose to leave. But they exiled me, Gomez. They cast me out because they were afraid. His jaw tightened. You should have stayed away. I tried. Her voice cracked. But I can't. Because something inside me is tied to you, and I don't know how to break it. The room went still. The head elder rose. Enough of this. Guards. The floor trembled. It started as a low vibration, barely perceptible. Then the chandelier swayed. The candles flickered. A crack splintered across the stone wall behind the elders' seats. Wolves began to howl outside, dozens of them, voices rising in unison. The Luna's eyes widened. What is? The candles exploded. Glass shattered. Flames roared upward, then vanished, plunging the room into shadow. Only moonlight remained, spilling through the high windows. And in that pale light, Gomez moved. His hands gripped the arms of his chair, white-knuckled, trembling. His entire body shook with effort. The curse fought him, iron bands tightening around his spine, his chest, his throat. But his wolf was stronger. Slowly, agonizingly, Gomez rose. The sound that filled the room wasn't human. It was a growl, deep, primal, and furious. Power radiated from him in waves, suffocating and absolute. The air itself seemed to bend. Wolves dropped to their knees. The guards. The elders. Even the Luna staggered back, eyes wide with shock. Gomez stood. Not hunched. Not weak. Not broken. He stood like the Alpha he'd always been, towering, commanding, lethal. His eyes blazed gold. Gomez, the head elder, stammered. This is impossible. You should have killed me when you had the chance. His voice was a blade. Sharp. Final. He took a step forward. Then another. Each movement was deliberate, controlled. The curse still clung to him, trying to drag him down, but he walked through it like fire through paper. And he walked straight to Selena. The pack watched, frozen. Gomez stopped in front of her, towering over her trembling frame. For a moment, he said nothing. Just stared down at her with an expression caught between fury and something far more dangerous. Relief. His hands rose, shaking, unsteady, and cupped her face. I don't need healing anymore, he said, voice rough and low. Selena's breath hitched. Gomez. I found my mate. The words hit the room like thunder. Silence. Absolute and suffocating. Then the bond ignited. It slammed into Selena's chest with the force of an avalanche, burning, searing, unbearable. She gasped, knees buckling, but Gomez held her upright. His grip tightened as the connection flared between them, golden threads weaving through her veins, her bones, her soul. She felt him. All of him. His rage. His pain. His loneliness. His hunger. And beneath it all, his need. "No," she choked out. "No," the elders said, "if the bond activates. I don't care. I'll die. Not if I claim you first." Her vision blurred. The pain was excruciating, tearing her apart from the inside. She could feel her life force draining, pouring into him, fueling the power that had been locked away for so long. She was ascending. Or dying. She couldn't tell the difference. Gomez pulled her closer, his forehead pressing against hers. "Stay with me," he growled. "Don't you dare leave." "I can't." "You can." The bond flared brighter. Hotter. And somewhere deep inside her, Selena felt something break open, something wild and ancient and utterly her own. Her wolf. It rose. It howled. And the chapel bells began to ring. The mate the world will try to kill. The bond didn't fade. It burned through Selena for 3 days straight, molten and merciless. She couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Every breath felt like inhaling fire. Gomez stayed with her, holding her through the worst of it, whispering words she couldn't hear over the roar in her blood. When it finally settled, she was different. Stronger. Sharper. Her senses had multiplied tenfold. She could hear heartbeats from across the manor. Smell fear like copper on the wind. And the visions, they came without warning, flashing behind her eyes like lightning. Ancient wolves. Blood oaths. Battles fought centuries ago. Magic she had no name for. "What's happening to me?" she whispered one night, gripping Gomez's arm as another vision tore through her. "You're ascending," he said simply. "Becoming what you were always meant to be. I don't want this. You don't have a choice." Outside, the pack was fracturing. The morning after the bond ignited, the council convened an emergency session. Selena wasn't invited. Neither was Gomez. But the decision was announced before sunset. "The mating is illegal," the head elder declared from the manor steps, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "Selena Graves is not of noble blood. She holds no title. No lineage. She is unworthy to stand as Luna." Wolves gathered below, murmuring in agreement. Some looked uncertain. Others outright hostile. The Luna, Gomez's former intended, stepped forward, her face a mask of cold fury. "This union violates every law our ancestors built. If it stands, we will be weakened. Divided. Destroyed." "Then break it," someone shouted from the crowd. "We will." Selena watched from a high window, stomach twisting. Gomez stood beside her, silent and unmoved. "They'll kill me," she said quietly. "They'll try. You can't fight the entire pack." He turned to her, eyes gleaming gold. "Watch me." The first assassination attempt came that night. Poison in her water. Selena tasted it immediately, her heightened senses screaming warning. She spat it out, heart racing, and called for Gomez. He found the culprit within an hour. A young wolf, barely 20, trembling and swearing he'd been paid. Gomez dragged him before the council and demanded justice. When they hesitated, he delivered it himself. Brutal. Swift. Final. The pack recoiled. "You've gone too far," the head elder hissed. "I haven't gone far enough." The second attempt was subtler. A blade in the dark. Selena felt the shift in the air and moved on instinct, her body responding before her mind caught up. She disarmed her attacker, a guard she'd once trusted, and left him alive. Gomez wasn't as merciful. By the end of the week, 3 wolves had been exiled. 2 elders had stepped down. And the alliances Gomez had spent years building crumbled like ash. He didn't care. "You're destroying everything," Selena told him one night, watching as he burned correspondence from neighboring packs, pleas for reason, threats of war. "I'm protecting what matters." "At what cost?" He looked at her, expression hard. "Any cost." But Selena wasn't sure she believed him. Because she could feel it now, the bond pulling at him, demanding he choose. Her or the pack. Love or legacy. He couldn't have both. The visions grew worse. Selena saw Gomez standing alone on a battlefield, surrounded by enemies. Saw herself burning from the inside out, consumed by power she couldn't control. Saw the pack torn apart, blood soaking the earth. She woke screaming. Gomez held her, but his hands were shaking. "It's the curse," he said quietly. "It's trying to finish what it started. By killing me? By killing us both." The final blow came on the 7th day. The council summoned them both to the great hall. Every elder was present. Every high-ranking wolf. The Luna stood at the center, expression triumphant. "We have deliberated," the head elder announced. "And we have reached a decision." Selena's heart pounded. "Gomez Thorne," the elder continued, voice cold. "You have a choice. Complete the mating bond and face exile, or sever it and remain alpha." The room fell silent. Gomez didn't move. Didn't speak. The elder leaned forward. "If you choose her, you choose war. The neighboring packs have already declared their stance. They will not recognize an Omega Luna. They will see it as weakness. And they will attack. Choose the mate," the Luna said softly, "or choose your pack." Selena's breath caught. She looked at Gomez, searching his face for answers. But his expression was unreadable. "You have until moonrise," the elder said. "Decide." They left without another word. Selena stood frozen, the weight of the ultimatum crushing her chest. Gomez turned to her, jaw tight. "I already have," he said. But he didn't tell her what he'd chosen. The sacrifice that breaks the curse. Selena found the answer in a book she shouldn't have touched. It was hidden deep in the archives, locked behind iron and wards that hummed with old magic. She'd broken in after midnight, hands steady despite the fear coiling in her gut. If the curse was going to kill them both, she needed to understand it first. The text was ancient, written in a language she barely recognized. But the diagrams were clear enough. A mate sacrifice spell. Her blood went cold. The curse hadn't just bound Gomez's wolf, it had tethered it to the life force of his future mate. A failsafe. A trap designed to ensure that if he ever found her, if the bond ever ignited, she would be consumed to break the chains. Her life for his freedom. That was the trade. That was why she'd been bleeding. Why her strength had drained with every healing session. Why the bond burned like it was devouring her from the inside out. She was the key. And the lock. And the only way to free him completely was to die. Selena closed the book with shaking hands. She didn't tell him. For 2 days, she moved through the manor like a ghost, memorizing every detail. The way sunlight slanted through the east windows. The sound of Gomez's voice when he thought no one was listening. The weight of his hand on her shoulder. She packed nothing. Took nothing. On the 3rd night, she left. The chapel was dark and empty when she returned. Fitting, she thought, that it would end where it began, alone, forgotten, cold. She knelt on the stone floor and pressed her palm to the ground, feeling the bond pulse beneath her skin. If she severed it willingly, the curse would break. Gomez would be free. The pack would have their alpha back. And she would be gone. It was the right choice. It had to be. She closed her eyes and began the words she'd memorized from the book. The door slammed open. Gomez stood in the doorway, chest heaving, eyes blazing gold. He looked wild. Furious. Terrified. "Don't," he growled. Selena's breath caught. "How did you?" "I felt it." He stalked forward, power radiating off him in waves. "The moment you decided. The bond screamed at me to stop you. You can't stop this. Watch me." She stood, backing away. "Gomez, listen." "No." His voice cracked. "You listen. I know what you found. I know what you think you have to do. It's the only way. It's not. The curse is tied to me." Her voice broke. "My life is the price, Gomez. If I don't pay it, you'll never be free. The pack will never be safe. This is the only solution. Then we find another one." "There isn't one." Silence fell between them, heavy and suffocating. Gomez closed the distance, gripping her shoulders. "I didn't survive 5 years in that chair just to lose you now. You'll lose everything else." "I don't care." "I do." Tears burned her eyes. You were meant to lead, Gomez. To be great. I won't let a curse or me destroy that. For a long moment, he stared at her. Then, slowly, he sank to his knees. Not in weakness. Not in defeat. But in surrender. An alpha, kneeling before his mate. Please, he said, voice raw. Don't leave me. Selina's heart shattered. Gomez. I'm begging you. His hands slid down to grip hers. I'll give up the pack. The title. Everything. Just stay. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. She dropped to her knees in front of him, cupping his face. I can't let you do that. And I can't let you die. They stayed like that, foreheads pressed together, breathing in sync. The bond thrummed between them, desperate, aching, alive. There has to be another way, Gomez whispered. There isn't. Then we make one. Selina pulled back, searching his eyes. What are you talking about? The curse was designed to take power, he said slowly. To bind mine and consume yours. But what if we don't let it? I don't understand. His grip tightened. What if instead of sacrificing yourself, you take the power back? Her breath caught. That's impossible. So was me standing. So was this bond. So is everything we've survived. His eyes burned with certainty. The spell assumes you're weak. That you'll break under the weight. But you're not weak, Selina. You never were. I'm an Omega. You're my mate. The words hung in the air like a vow. Selina felt the bond flare, not with pain this time, but with something else. Recognition. Challenge. Invitation. If I try this and it doesn't work, then we go down together. She looked at him. At the alpha who had risen from ruin. Who had fought a curse for 5 years. Who knelt before her now, offering everything. And she made her choice. Teach me, she said. Gomez smiled, fierce and feral. Stand up, mate. It's time to break some rules. The alpha queen they never expected. The ritual began at midnight. Selina stood in the center of the council chamber, the same room where Gomez had first risen. Candles ringed the space, their flames casting dancing shadows across stone walls. The air was thick with magic, old, hungry, waiting. Gomez stood behind her, hands resting on her shoulders. Steady. Anchoring. The curse is a chain, he murmured against her ear. But chains can be broken. Reforged. Turned back on those who made them. They'll fight me. Let them. She closed her eyes and reached for the bond. It pulsed beneath her skin, a living thing, threaded with golden light and shadow. She followed it deeper, past the connection to Gomez, past her own wolf, down into the dark heart of the curse itself. There. A knot of blood magic, twisted and ancient. She felt its hunger. Its purpose. It had been designed to consume her, to fuel Gomez's power by draining her life force drop by drop. But magic could be rewritten. Selina's hands began to glow. She pulled at the threads, unraveling the spell piece by piece. The curse screamed, a sound only she could hear, and lashed back. Pain ripped through her chest. Blood dripped from her nose. Gomez's grip tightened. Don't stop. She wouldn't. Couldn't. She twisted the spell, turning its hunger inward. If it wanted power, she'd give it power, but not hers. She reached through the bond, through the curse, following its roots back to the source. The council. The elders who had cast it. Who had bound Gomez. Who had feared him enough to destroy him. She found them in the weave of the spell, their signatures, their blood, their intent. And she claimed it all. The council chamber doors burst open. Elders poured in, faces twisted with fury and panic. The head elder pointed a shaking finger at Selina. Stop this. You have no right. I have every right, Selina said, voice echoing with power that wasn't entirely her own. You used blood magic to bind an alpha. You broke your own laws. We did what was necessary. You were afraid. The words cut through the room like a blade. Selina opened her eyes. They glowed, not gold like Gomez's, but silver, bright and cold as moonlight. The curse unraveled completely, its power flooding back through the bond, through her and then out. Slamming into the elders with the force of a tidal wave. They staggered, gasped, dropped to their knees. What have you done? The head elder choked out. I've given you back what you gave him. Selena stepped forward, and the room seemed to darken around her. 5 years of suffering. 5 years of isolation. 5 years of watching the world move on without you. This is forbidden. So is cursing your alpha. The magic burned through them. Not lethal, but devastating. They aged before her eyes, joints stiffening, hands trembling, power draining like water through a sieve. The Luna screamed. Selena turned to her, expression cold. You wanted to lead? Fine. Lead them through what they put him through. Please. Beg someone who cares. Gomez moved to stand beside her, his presence a wall of dominance and pride. He looked down at the council, at the wolves who had betrayed him, and smiled, sharp and dangerous. My mate has broken your curse, he said, voice carrying through the chamber. And in doing so, she's claimed something you never wanted her to have. He took Selena's hand and raised it high. Power. The bond flared between them, brilliant, blinding, undeniable. Every wolf in the room felt it. The shift. The coronation that required no ceremony. Gomez turned to face the gathered pack, his voice ringing with authority. Selena Graves is my mate. My Luna. My equal in all things. Anyone who challenges her challenges me. Silence. Then, slowly, wolves began to kneel. Not out of tradition. Not out of duty. Out of fear. Out of awe. Out of the raw, undeniable understanding that the woman who had healed the broken alpha was something far more dangerous than any of them had imagined. A queen who could not be controlled. Selena looked out over the sea of bowed heads, feeling the weight of what she'd become. The healer was gone. The frightened Omega who'd only wanted to help. Gone. In their place stood someone new. Someone forged in pain and power and choice. Gomez leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. How does it feel? She met his gaze, a slow smile curving her lips. Like waking up. Good. He pulled her closer, his hand settling possessively at her waist. Because we have a lot of people to remind why they should have left well enough alone. The pack remained kneeling as Gomez and Selena walked through the chamber, side by side, equals in power and purpose. The old system had collapsed. The old rules meant nothing. A new reign had begun. Later, when the castle was quiet and they stood alone on the balcony overlooking the territory, Selena finally allowed herself to breathe. I tried to heal you, she said softly. Gomez turned to her, cupping her face with both hands. You did more than that. What did I do? He kissed her. Deep and claiming and full of promise. You awakened a king. She smiled against his lips. And you awakened a queen.